Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. And if you're new here, that's exactly what I do. Now, today we're taking another look at the new Nikon Z30. I've already done a video which I'll link up here, no it's up here, to my first impressions of a Z30, certainly as a video camera, because I actually filmed the video with the Z30 and 2 or 3 other cameras. But take a look at that video if you want to see how good the video quality is from the Z30. And I can tell you in this video, it's great. It hasn't got N-Log, it isn't 10-bit recording, but if you're looking at doing vlogging and YouTube creation, then it's absolutely super for that. It does 4K and it does obviously HD, does slow motion, but the video quality is excellent. It's really good. It's crisp and it's sharp. So, you know, that's for me is the main thing. It is only 8-bit. But as long as you're not doing heavy colour grading, then that'll be fine. But in this video, I want to go through its handling and what I think of it as a camera to take out and about. Not just for working in the studio here, but for using as a stills camera and using as a video camera. A true hybrid camera. And here it is, and it is awesome. The grip is one of my favourite features of this particular camera. Now this camera is designed along the lines of the Sony ZV-E10. That's its main competitor really, is the Sony ZV-E10. Possibly the Panasonic G100. I have done a comparison between the ZV-E10 and the G100. I've done a comparison between the ZV-E10 and the ZV-1 as well. But I will be doing comparisons between this camera and the ZV-E10. And I'm going to do that because I think there's going to be a lot of people that will be looking at these two cameras because they are so similar. But I prefer the Z30 for handling. I just love this grip. It's really good. It's got 2 function buttons on the front of the camera. You can see them just here. There we go. There we go. So you can see them just here. So you've got function button 1 and function button 2, as well as other function buttons on the back of the camera, and you've got function buttons on the top of the camera. So for a camera that is really compact and really nicely designed, I think they've included a lot of features in the camera that's compact and at a great price. Now it is APS-C, so it's a smaller sensor than your full frame cameras, but it's a bigger sensor than your Micro Four Thirds. So it kind of sits in the middle as far as, I hate to say image quality, because Micro Four Thirds does produce great image quality, but suffers a little bit in low light. Well, this is the happy balance really between your Micro Four Thirds and your full frame. So great in low light, but maybe not quite as good as you'd get from a full frame body. But the image quality is still lovely. What I will do is put a link to my Flickr page where you can actually see some of the images I've taken with the Z30 and various lenses. I'm going to show you some on the computer here in this video, but I'm only going to skip through them. I'm not going to go in any detail because you are better off looking at them on the on my Flickr page. So there you go. So great grip. And as I say, with function buttons on the front, battery compartment, fairly traditional at the bottom there, takes the EL25 battery, they're the same battery as in the ZFC and the Z50, which are the other 2 APS-C cameras that Nikon make. This actually is very similar to the Z50. The Z50's got a really good grip, but the Z50 has a viewfinder. You can see here, this camera has got no viewfinder whatsoever, and I thought at first that would be a really big drawback, but the monitor is really good on here. So even in bright sunlight I was able to see, you know, fairly clearly, and I have to use the word fairly. If it's really bright sunlight, you are going to struggle a wee bit, I will be quite honest, but you can still see it enough to get your frame in, but you're not going to be able to judge image quality, colour, possibly focus, you know, in really bright sunlight. So if that is a key for you, then you probably are best looking at something else. Certainly not the Sony ZV-E10, because that hasn't got a viewfinder. Possibly the Nikon Z50, or even one of the full frame bodies, such as the Nikon Z5. You know, that's great value for money, the Z5, for a full frame camera, and has a fantastic viewfinder. It's got your standard PASM dial on the top. So you've got your, it's got 3 user settings, user 1, 2 and 3, shutter speed, aperture priority, manual, so on and so forth. But what they've done, the switch for photo and video, they've put on the back. So you can very quickly select whether you want photo or video just by flicking this switch. My favourite feature of all, regarding both this and the Z5 and the Z6, and I would think the Z6 too and the Z7 too, is that with the function buttons, they do different things for photos to what they do in video mode. And I'll explain what I mean. So at the moment, I've got that in photo mode. And you can see, if I push this front button now, I'm going to hold this front button, which you're not going to be able to see me do, but I'm going to hold this front button in, and that will change. That's going to change, what's that changing? The white balance. So the top button will change the white balance in photo mode. Now, if I put it into video mode, the top button now will do something different. It changes the microphone level, so I can adjust the microphone level. So I've set that up, one function button, to do different things, whether you're in photo or video mode. I think that is awesome. I wish all manufacturers would do that. It's so helpful. And that's the same with all the function buttons. You can have them all set up different for video to what you can for photos. It's same as the info menu. So you go into this I button here. Where are we? I button. It brings up at the bottom there, brings up a quick menu structure. Rather than having to go through the full menu, that just brings up the a quick menu. But again, you can set that up differently to what you can in video. So you can have different items in that menu in photos, and then in video you can have another set of items in there. So absolutely marvellous. Really do like that. And that's the same on all the Nikon. So it makes it a really true hybrid camera. So when you're flicking between photo and video, your settings could well be different, because they would be in video mode. I would have it set to 1/50th of a second at f2.8 in manual. But if I'm in photographs, if I'm taking photographs, I might have something different set up, and that's fine. It remembers it. So I think that is great. It's got the 3-inch articulating screen, might be 3.2 inches articulating screen there. That is great. Not my favourite combination for taking photographs. I prefer to have just a tilty screen that's behind the camera for taking photographs, but it works fine. I just have to realise that the monitor sticks out to one side for photography. Not a big deal, but you know, something to bear in mind. And that's why I loved the GH6, because the Panasonic GH6 has got a mechanism where you can either tilt it up and down or bring it out to one side. And I think that's a great mechanism. Makes the camera bulkier, mind you. So you wouldn't want to fit it on a camera like this, because it would be too bulky. So so that is that. It's when you've got it in video mode. So let's put it back into video mode. We're now in video mode. The lovely thing is it's got a red tally light. So when you hit record, you can see the red tally light comes on there. Now it's flashing because the battery's low, but so it's got a red tally light for recording. Now battery life is not bad. You know, you're gonna get about 45 minutes to maybe an hour out of video filming with this. But the great thing is, well, I'm in the studio here, or even if you're going out somewhere, but in the studio here, I power it via a USB block. So you're charging the battery up while you're using the camera, or you're certainly powering the camera while it's plugged into a USB block. So you're not going to run out of battery. That is great for in the studio here, because nothing worse than doing a lot of filming and you find the camera's battery will run out on you. Likewise, you see, I'm filming an over-the-shoulder shot over here with my Panasonic G100. Now that's running off battery. So, you know, I may well find that battery will die on me before we actually finish, you know, these videos. But the Z5 won't, because that's running off a power block, and my Sony ZV-E10, which is getting the close-up shot, is running off a power block. But that's a great thing with the Z30. You can run it off a USB power block, and it's got US, and you can charge it via USB. On the side here, it's got your ports. So you've got your HDMI port, and you've got your USB-C port. And the lovely thing is, it's got a mic jack as well, so you can plug an external mic into the top, which is great. There we go. All these ports have these horrid flaps, but so it's got your mic jack on the top there. Now it hasn't got a headphone jack. Again, the Sony ZV-E10 has got a headphone jack. You may find that important. It is important for monitoring audio, really, to be honest. But if you're using something like the DJI microphone system, or there's loads of them, but say that particular system, the microphone itself has got its own headphone jack. So at least you can monitor the audio coming to the receiver, but you can't check to make sure that is what you think is going down onto the camera. So you'll be able to see, there you go, you can see the audio levels on the screen there, not on this license. So yeah, you can see those audio levels on the bottom right hand part of the screen. So sorry, the left hand, what am I saying, right? So bottom left hand part of the screen, you can see audio levels. So at least you can check your audio levels, but you don't know if there's any buzzing going on. It would have been nice if they had put a headphone jack in, but they haven't. So there you go. But the weight of the camera is really, really light. I should put in the description what the weight is. I can't remember what the weight is. And I'm saying it takes your standard Z mount. I say standard, but it's the same mount that they use for their full frame mirrorless cameras as they do for the APS-C range. So it's basically Z mount there. Where are we? There we go. So it's APS-C sensor, 20.9 megapixel sensor in there. Again, the same as the Z50 and the ZFC. So image quality is excellent. And you can use your full frame lenses on the Z30, which I have done several times. I've used the Nikon Z40mm, but that'd be about 60mm on this, because you have to take into account the 1.5 times crop factor. So but what is great, it's like what Sony have done with the E mount, and now Canon are doing with the RF mount. It's the same mount for whether it be their crop sensor APS-C cameras or their full frame cameras. So you might want to buy, if you're looking at upgrading in the future, you might want to buy full frame lenses to work on your APS-C body. But just bear in mind, you're not going to get an extreme wide angle if you do that, because it crops it. But great for telephoto. That's you know, a brief overview of the handling of Z30. Image quality is lovely. I say lovely, it's great. The image quality is great, and I've used it with a wide range of lenses, and I've used it many times with the FTZ adapter. I've adapted, for example, this lens here, which is the 10-20. It's a really nice, and it's quite a cheap wide angle, so it's like 15-30, that would be in full frame terms. So that's pretty much almost extreme wide, but certainly wide to wide, if that makes sense, you know. A short standard, because the standard is 50mm, so it's closest to a standard lens. So, you know, and that is, you know, a nice thing. You just put the FTZ adapter on, works great. Autofocus works lovely. I've used it with me, if I can reach it, with me Sigma 17-70 lens that I've got fitted to my old D300. Jeez, this thing weighs a ton, and I've got a battery grip on it, but this thing weighs a flipping ton. But I've got it fitted to me. I've used me 17-70, which has got vibration reduction built into the lens. And that is one thing to note. The Z30, the same as the Z50 and the ZFC, has no in-body image stabilization in the camera. It is really useful, and it's really, I think, almost important to use a lens that has got some form of image stabilization, because otherwise you'll have to set your shutter speed slightly higher on the Z30 to stop it from, you know, getting motion blur on the end result. So no image stabilization in the body, but if you're using lenses with image stabilization, you're on a winner. It's not a problem. So let's take a quick look at these photographs. I can see this video, I'm looking at the timer now, I can see this video has gone on quite a long time, so we're not going you know, look at these in any great detail. But if we look at these now, I've taken a lot of images with this camera and with various lenses. So I think this is with a kit lens. Yeah, with DX16-50 kit lens, and you know, the kit lens is sharp. It's a great travel combination because the kit lens is sharp and it's got vibration reduction, VR, built into the lens. But I'm just going to scan through these images. I've created those in black and white because it's such a yucky building. Black and white suited it, I thought. You can see that, you know, again, very, very sharp images. As well as using Lightroom, I use a program called Luminar Neo. Now, I use Luminar Neo a great deal for sky replacement, for adjusting your contrast, brightness, shadows. Lightroom does all that as well. But with Neo, you purchase it once, you don't have to pay a monthly subscription for it. So once you purchase it, you own it. I'm going to take a look at how I do that. But what I would say, if you do download the trial version, I'll leave a link in the description to where you can download the trial version from my website. Download the trial version, and if you decide you want to use it and you want to buy it and you really like it, use the code AVP to get $10 off the purchase price. And the great thing is, once you've purchased it, you own it. You don't have to pay a monthly subscription. So let's just take a look at how we edit a sky in Luminar Neo. So let's edit this in Luminar Neo. Edit it as a TIFF. And what that'll do, that'll take that image into Neo. We'll edit it as a TIFF and see what we think of it. Now, there we go. Look, it didn't take long to load that. Now, if we go into the edit module, we go into sky. We choose the sky. Let's choose, just for the sake of it, a dramatic one. What about that one? And look at that. That's great, isn't it? We can go into enhance. We can make a quick enhancement of that. That gives the whole image as a bit of punch. Enhance the sky a bit. And if we click apply, that'll now take us back to Lightroom, and it's added that image into the Lightroom catalogue. So they're all back together, all back, you know, it's brilliant. So it works as a plugin for Lightroom, but it's also a standalone bit of software. And I love that. So there we go. That's the image before, that's with the sky replacement. Just a bit of fun to do. And you may even find that very useful for, you know, images that have got a really boring looking sky. You can add a really nice sky to it. But again, there's another one that I've done. You know, that's also brought up the shadows under the actual bridge there, you know. The Nikon Z30 has animal eye detect and face detect. Obviously it has the human eye detect and face detect. If you look at this image here, this is a really great example. It's photographed through the foliage but focused on little Molly's eye. And I think that's brilliant. But, you know, it's ignored the foliage in the foreground, but the eye detector's picked out the cat's eye in the background. I think that's brilliant. And, you know, it's the same with, you know, this image here. It's focused on little Sam's eye. That's great. It's pin sharp. Gorgeous image. Now, these shots were taken with the Nikon 50-250, which I have here. I will be doing a review on this lens. It's a DX lens, which is designed for the Z50, the Z30, the ZFC, so on and so forth. Great, great value lens for this sort of photography, you know, for wildlife, possibly sports, but, you know, great image, great lens and great image quality and great value for money. But yeah, so you'll have no problem if you want to buy this camera for photographing, you know, your pets, photographing animals. You know, it is really, really good. The one thing that I do like, even though it hasn't got a viewfinder, I really do like the way that you can hold it like that, but with this screen, because obviously it's got an articulating screen, you can hold it like that. So if you're really down low, you can hold it like that, be able to get these photographs. And that's how I got those photographs. I didn't have to get my hands and knees. I just held the camera down like that, and I could see the monitor, and that was brilliant. And that's a great thing with you having an articulating screen on a camera, that you can get those sort of low angle shots without having to get on your hands and knees, and I think that is great. So yeah, the Z30 I can highly recommend. If you do need one with a viewfinder, it's worth looking at the Z50, because it's a very similar camera, but the Z30 has got somewhat better video features than what the Z50 has. There is no video record limit with the Z30 either. They say no video record limit. It's about 125 minutes. So there is a limit, unlike the ZVE10, the Sony ZVE10, there actually is no limit, well, unless your card fills up or your battery runs out. But there is a limit on the Z30, but it's a really good limit. It will go on and on. Unlike the Panasonic G100, the Nikon Z5, they have 30-minute record limits. So there we go. That's a quick look at the Nikon Z30. Well, I say quick look, a fairly quick look at the Nikon Z30. Really appreciate you watching this video. If you do enjoy my content and you enjoy this video, please hit the like button. That really does help me grow the channel, and it helps with the YouTube algorithms. And please subscribe if you haven't already done so. That really does help as well. So many thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos relating to video photography, audio, podcasting, so on and so forth. Cheers for now. Bye.